Hello, church. So here is our devotional for November 6th, which is a Thursday of this week. We are continuing in the Hallel Psalms. This is a section of Psalms of praise going from 113 to 118. Some neat stuff that we've been encountering. With Psalm 116, we're going to be splitting this into two parts. James Mays has an interesting little comment, and I'll talk about why I'm splitting it that way. Partly just for length, and so we can focus on different aspects of his commentary. But then we'll also be getting into some manuscript conversations, just so you have a base for that, and the comment makes a little more sense. So, as always, we'll begin with our NRSV. Maybe not always, but mostly. And this is going to be verses 1 through 9 if you're following in a version that's numbering as you go. Psalm 116. I love the Lord because he has heard my voice and my supplications, because he inclined his ear to me. Therefore I will call on him as long as I live. The snares of death encompass me, the pangs of Sheol laid hold on me. I suffered distress and anguish. Then I called on the name of the Lord. O Lord, I pray, save my life. Gracious is the Lord and righteous. Our God is merciful. The Lord protects the simple. When I was brought low, he saved me. Return, O my soul, to your rest, for the Lord has dealt bountifully with you. For you have delivered my soul from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. I walk before the Lord in the land of the living. It has been a little while, but we've encountered the word Sheol before. And so in Jewish thought in the Old Testament, think of Sheol as this place of death. It doesn't necessarily relate to our same concepts of particular words like heaven and hell. It's this place of death. Clearly, the author is talking about a time in which they were feeling dead, and God raising them up and bringing them back to new life and hope and faithfulness. So just bear that in mind when that comes up. Psalm 116, which Mays entitles, What Shall I Return to the Lord? Very good question. Psalm 116 is a song of thanksgiving. It is the praise of one whose prayer for help has been answered. The heart of the song is a narrative of salvation, movement from Sheol, death, new life. In a past predicament of life-threatening trouble, prayer was made. The Lord heard and helped. In the prayer, vows of sacrifice and praise were made. Now the one who has been saved comes to the temple bringing sacrifice and singing this song as thanksgiving to the Lord and as testimony about the goodness of the Lord to the people of the Lord. In the Greek and Latin Bibles, more on that in a minute, Psalm 116 is divided into two psalms. Verses 1 to 9 appear as Psalm 114, and verses 10 to 19 as Psalm 115. In liturgical practice, also, parts of the psalm have been used separately. Mays goes into Sheol and death a fair bit, and I think for right now I'm going to leave that part sit because it gets a little nuanced. But so here's the deal as we're doing biblical study, and I'm hoping you can take this as an important lesson and reminder and not something to undermine the foundations of our faith, because it's not. We have different manuscripts that when we are doing modern translation, we are looking at, we are studying, and we're trying to get the closest that we can. So while it might be different versions to the most popular, so a full Latin version of the Old and New Testament is called the Vulgate, and that was written by Jerome. We also have the Greek Septuagint, which is both Old Testament and New Testament in Greek. They're trying to use as many viable and valuable sources as they can to determine this, as well as the original Hebrew scripts that we have. So when they canonized the Bible, which was 325 or around in there, they were trying to come up with an agreeable composition for both Old and New Testament as they were coming together and seeing what was of value and what they felt reflected the faith. So the Greek and Latin reference acknowledges that there's some different layout in the Psalms, but the significance is still absolutely there for us. So a little side note. Tomorrow, as we conclude Psalm 116, we'll get into the use in the Christian church of Psalm 116 and some interesting bits from Mays on how this psalm has been adapted in Christian theology and worship practice. And our conclusion from Eugene Peterson in The Message. I love God because he listened to me, listened as I begged for mercy. He listened so intently as I laid out my case before him. Death stared me in the face. Hell was hard on my heels. Hear that? Up against it, I didn't know which way to turn. Then I called out to God for help. Please, God, I cried out, save my life. God is gracious. It is he who makes things right, our most compassionate God. God takes the side of the helpless. When I was at the end of my rope, he saved me. I said to myself, relax and rest. God has showered you with blessings. Soul, you've been rescued from death. You've been rescued from tears. And you, foot, were kept from stumbling. I'm striding in the presence of God, alive in the land of the living. Good stuff, Eugene Peterson, and that movement, which Mays refers to as that story of salvation from death to life, is great. You heard Peterson use the word hell. So not inappropriate translation, just wanted to uplift kind of conceptual differences with Sheol, but you can also think in our modern context, probably most famously captured by Winston Churchill for me, if you're going through hell, keep on going. The reality that we have these moments in our lives that can feel like we are separated from God. And in those moments, to keep praying, to keep walking, to keep moving, and to keep trusting that God is present and leading us through new life and to new hope. Woo! Psalm 116 to get us started, and we'll be finishing that up tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. Little side note, because we're at about 8.5 minutes. If you're on our congregational mailing list, you know I've been doing some work in a book by Schwenkfeld called The Healing Balm and Divine Physician. It's hitting me right where I am, and really enjoying that as a resource. I'm doing some modernization and devotional. We're trying to figure out, and by which I mean me and in discussion with others, what's the best format to present? And if it's going to be video, is it better to do that on Zoom with recorded postings? Keep doing Facebook and Restream? Or are there some things that people are using that might be a little more popular? I'm not familiar with TikTok or Instagram or a couple other things. We do have an Instagram page at church. If they're, particularly if you are under the age of, let's say, 40, maybe even 35, if there's a particular place you are listening to or getting podcasts or something like that, let me know, because we want to continue to expand our ministry both on for the devotional as well as for some of the other pieces we're going to be working on. All right. Thanks so much. Feel free to either make some comments below or give me a shout if you got my number, and happy to talk with you about that. Thanks so much. God's blessings, and we'll see you tomorrow.